Okay, on Kuf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph, the Gemara continues discussing halachos of food preparation on Yantif. It came up previously in regards to Bris Milah. Now the Gemara quotes other halachos of food preparation on Yantif that have nothing to do with Bris Milah. Tana Rabbanan, the Gemara quotes a brisa: Ein misanenes achardol b'misanenes shalo, ve'ein matkin oso begacheles. So the Gemara says, the Brisa says, even though on Yantif food preparation is mutter, there's some things you can't do. You can't separate a chardal, a mustard seed. You can't strain it in its strainer to separate the outside from the inside, the seed part. And normally what was done to make the mustard seed sweeter was to take a gachela, take a coal, a burning coal, and stick it into the pile of mustard seeds, which would kind of roast or toast the mustard seeds and sweeten them a little bit. But it would also extinguish the charcoal. The coal will make it charcoal, which we know is the malach of mechabe. That is the guf of the malach of mechabe. It will be a malacha tzricha legufa. And therefore, you can't do that on Yom Tov. Amarli Abai Rav Yosef, Ma'ishnami Haditanan Tisnan. So Abai asks Rav Yosef, I don't understand, why is this price so strict? Why is this worse than what the Mishnah in the next parak permits? Tisnan nosnim beitza b'misanenes shal chardal. So the Mishnah says that once you have a strainer full of mustard seeds, that you've already strained out the bits of the shell you don't want, so that you did already before Shabbos. But you can crack an egg and put it on top of the mustard seeds. They would do that to make the mustard seeds a little nicer looking. So the Mishnah says you can do that. Now the Mishnah is not worried about straining the egg, because you're not really straining the egg. All the egg goes through the strainer, but it leaves the mustard looking a little better, so there's no malacha involved. But, so why is the brisa more strict on Yantif with regards to straining the mustard seeds themselves than the Mishnah is about putting the egg through the strainer on Shabbos? So the Gemara explains that they're not really comparable. The brisa which prohibits straining the mustard, that's actual borer, or at least mechazi kibar. It looks like borer because you are sorting the edible part from the inedible part of the mustard seed. Whereas with the egg, nothing is actually being separated. It's all going through, and there really is no borer or any appearance of borer that's going on. Okay, problem solved. However, the Brisa also said, Ein mimatkin oso b'gachelas. You can't take the coal and use it to sweeten the mustard seeds. So the Gemara says, well, why not? V'hatanya, the Gemara says, V'hatanya, we have a brisa. Don't we have a brisa? V'hatanya always introduces a brisa. That seems to, I shouldn't say always, it doesn't always, but usually, V'hatanya introduces a brisa which comes to reject a statement we said before. And this brisa does seem to go very much against this previous brisa. The brisa says, look, you can sweeten the mustard by toasting them with a coal. So how do you explain that? The Gemara says, lo kasha, that's not a kasha. Lo kasha, meaning those two brises are not really in conflict. They're talking about different situations. Explain. The Gemara says, "Kan gachel shel mateches, kan gachel shel eitz." So it has to do with what the gachelet, what the coal was made from. If it was a metal, if it was a piece of metal that got very hot, and that's what you were using as your heat source. So so the fact that you're extinguishing the mateches is not making it into charcoal. The metal doesn't change once it cools down. It's not any different than it was before, so no malacha is involved. But a gachel shel eitz, when you have a coal, a wood-based coal, a burning piece of wood that now you extinguish, and now it's not the same as it was before. Now it's charcoal, now it has different physical properties, and you have accomplished the malacha of mechabe. Okay, Amarli Abai Rav Yosef, Ma'ishnami Bisra Agumre. So, So Abai asked Rav Yosef another question about this. Abai, before had a question about straining the mustard seeds. Now Abai is asking a question about this second din of the brayso. So that says you can't put the coal in the mustard seeds because you're going to extinguish the coals and make them into charcoal. So Abai says, well, I understand. Ma'ishnami bisra agumre. How is that different than putting meat on a barbecue? You're grilling meat on an open flame I'll say a wood fire. So anytime you do that, anytime you throw a steak onto a wood fire, so doesn't the juice from the steak drip down onto the wood, and doesn't it extinguish the fire? Even if it doesn't totally extinguish the fire, won't it extinguish it a little bit? Won't it perform at least partial kibui on the fire? So the Gemara says, Amar lei hasam lo efshar hacha efshar. So Rav Yosef says, when it comes to yantif, very often the difference between what's mutter and what's not mutter is things which could have been done before, things which couldn't have been done before. And when it comes to preparing mustard seeds, so you could prepare it before, and the mustard will be good. When it comes to cooking meat, so there's a very big difference between meat that's right off the grill and meat that was cooked yesterday and was reheated or eaten cold. So if you want to have fresh, hot meat on yantif, the only way to do it is cook it on yantif. So anything that's involved, just like the malacha of bishul, is permitted in order to get fresh, hot food on Yom Tov. So the malacha of kibui, that's being done by the juices dripping down into the fire, so that is also permitted on yantif because there's no other way to get hot, fresh food on yantif. But the same issue, the same kibui that would happen with preparing the mustard seed, even though it's really the same malacha, but you could do it on the Erev yantif and your mustard will still be plenty good. Okay, so that's how Rav Yosef answers Abai's question, that these two things are actually different. So Amalei Abai Rav Yosef, Ma'u L'gabein. So along those lines, Abai asked Rav Yosef the question, Ma'u L'gabein. L'gabein comes from the word givina. Givina we know is cheese. So in the process of making cheese, so you take the milk and you solidify, you curdle it. So that also involves milacha. So the question is, so can you do that on Yom Tov? Can you make cheese on Yom Tov? So Amalei Asur. So Rav Yosef said, no, you cannot make cheese on yantif. It is not included in the prohibition of, in the permission, in the exemption of ochel nefesh. Normally, food can be prepared on yantif, but you can't make cheese. So Amalei Asur says, no, you cannot. So the question is, ma'ishnami lisha. So Abaye follows up and he says, well, how is that different than lisha? Lisha is kneading dough. You take the flour and the water, you mix it together, you knead it together to form the dough. That is one of the 39 malachos, but it is permitted on yantif. If you want to make fresh bread on yantif, you may. So he gives the same answer. Rav Yosef gives the same answer as he gave previously when it comes to toasting the mustard versus grilling the meat. He said, well, look, it has to do with what you can easily do the day before. You can make cheese the day before and it will still be fine, but if you make dough the day before, it won't taste the same as if it's fresh. Okay, so Abai challenges that assumption. Abai said, but I don't understand. Don't all the people in Naharda, all the cool kids in Naharda say that Gvina Bas Yoma is Ma'alya, that a Gvina Bas Yoma, Gvina of that day, meaning the Gvina that was born today, is Ma'alya, is excellent. So how can you say that cheese is just as good done the day before when everyone's all excited about cheese made today? So Rav Yosef answers that question by saying you got it backwards. It's all context. They were saying no, not that cheese is better the day it's made. They're saying that cheese is good, that even the day you make it, it's good. Of course, it's going to get better. Cheese is better as it ages. Of course, cheese would be just as good, if not better, the next day. They were just saying cheese is pretty fine even the day you make it. But that does not come to suggest that cheese is better the day you make it. If that were true, then you would be allowed to make cheese on Yantiv, but no one is actually saying that. Okay, now the Mishnah said, Ein osin la chaluk. The Mishnah discussing the bris milah, back to bris milah now. The Mishnah said things that you can and can't do with a bris milah that takes place on Shabbos. So one of the things you can't do is the special bandage that they would make called a chaluk, like a little shirt, that you couldn't make that properly on Shabbos. And if you didn't prepare it before Shabbos, then you'd have to kind of make a temporary kind of wrapping on the wound. So Amar Abaye, Amar Le'eim, Hay Chaluk Dinuka, Lefanye L'Sitra L'Iloi, Dilma Midbuk, Garda Minei, Asadei Krushavcha. So Abaye quotes his aim, his mother, or actually his nurse, his nanny, that had some wisdom regarding child raising, specifically infants, taking care of infants. And the Gemara here gives several pieces of medical advice that Abaye's nanny had regarding taking care of newborns, very delicate creatures. So the Abaye quotes his mother, Hay Chaluk Yanuka, that this bandage that you use for the baby after bris milah, you have to be careful. Lafanya l'sitra li'lo, you have to turn it upwards so that the edge of the bandage, which has loose threads, you don't want them sticking to the wound. Also, the krushavcha, which could end up doing damage to the child, make him a krushavcha, make him potentially infertile. That would be obviously very tragic. So be very careful, as all mohalim know, to be very careful with placing the bandage on the child. And in fact, this woman, Abaye's nanny, which she would make a kistasa, a little covering, a little lining for the bandage to protect the child. Amar Abaye, ha yenuka de leslei chaluk, lesi belisa dislei sifsa, belichachalev lesifsa letatoy, v'ayif leili iloi. And Abaye says, in general, if you don't have a proper chaluk and you're using a belisa, a piece of fabric, so make sure it's got a sifsa, like a rim. It's got a hem that you can fold over and ayaflame and double it over so that the double it, upwards, so that there's not going to be any problems with the wound. Okay, so more from Abaye's nanny. Amar Abaye, Amar Li'aim, Ha Yenuka Delo Yedia Mapakte. So what happens if, unfortunately, a Yenuka, a child, is born Lo Yedia Mapakte, where he's not able to excrete waste, needs surgical intervention in order to be able to do that, to correct this birth defect. But the problem is you don't necessarily know where the incision should be made, so you don't want to make it in the wrong place. So what Abaye learned is the best thing to do in this situation is to rub oil on the baby's skin, and look at them in the clear light of day, and wherever it's you can see that it's a little more transparent, where the skin isn't as thick. So then you can make the incision there, but not to use metal, but to use sa'arasa, to actually use the sharp edge of a barley seed, shesi v'arev, and make a cross incision, like an X. But not with a metal utensil, mishum dizarif, that could cause inflammation. What if the child is lomayit, is not nursing? So mekar dekar pume. So what Abaye was taught is that mekar dekar pume, it's because of coldness, because of lack of circulation in the mouth and the baby's mouth, and this is why the baby is not nursing. So maitakante. So what should you do in that situation? Leisa kasa gumre beliknete le lahade puma techayim pume umayit. In that situation, so you have to warm up the baby's mouth. So you bring a kasa gumre, like we had the word gumre before. A cup of coals, not to touch the child, obviously, but to bring in linkitele lahade pume, to bring the warmth near the child's mouth, techayim pume umayit, which would hopefully increase the warmth and circulation in the mouth, so that the child can then hopefully nurse. Now, similarly, if a child is having trouble urinating, so then you should put the child in an afavasa, in a strainer, and that will help him with that problem. Less is slisa diime velisrike. If the child is lo ma'ave, the child is not growing properly. Less is slisa diime, bring the slisa, the placenta of the mother. Velisarke ilave, velisrike ilave mikutna leulma, and put it on the child's skin from the small side to the big side of the placenta, and that will hopefully encourage growth. The element, if it's growing too much, meulma lekutna, so then you do that in the reverse. Okay, don't try any of these things at home without the guidance of a medical professional. So this is very practical. Abaye says, learn from his nanny, a child is too red. That means the blood has not really been absorbed properly in the body. And it's dangerous to do a bris milah at that point. The child will bleed too much. So then you should wait until the blood has become better absorbed. You should delay the bris milah in that situation. And then do the bris milah to yarok if the child is too yellow. Jaundice, that means the blood hasn't really started flowing properly yet. That would also be dangerous to do the bris milah. Then you should wait for the blood to start flowing better and delay the bris milah. As is often the case, a baby's bris milah is delayed because of situations such as this. Velim halua, and then you can safely do the bris milah later. Titania, the Bryce tells them, Rabbi Nasif Amachas Alachti Lekrach Hayam Ubas Ishal Lefanai Shemal Benar Rishon Umeis Sheni Umeis Shlishi Aviyasu Lefanai. So a sad situation Rabbi Nasif talks about of a woman whose first son died after a bris milah and second son died after a bris milah. Now the third son is born, and they brought the child to me. Re'isiv shu adom, so I can see that this child is too red, that blood has not been absorbed, and that's a genetic issue which probably affected the first two children as well. So amarti lo hamtini lo ad shivalabo damo. So I said, better to delay the bris and wait until the blood is absorbed. Timtini lo ad shenivlabo damo. So she waited until the redness went away, and then she did the bris milah for her son, and this child survived. And they named the child after me, Nasan HaBavli. Okay, similarly, another story. I was in a different area, similar situation where the first two sons had died after the bris milah. And the third one was brought to me. Risif Shahu Yarok, and I saw the child was too yellow, jaundice, and I said, it's Bo. I looked at the child, Lo Risi Bo Dam Bris, and I saw that there was really no blood flowing, there's no Dam Bris to even have the bris. And I said, wait, let this child, delay the bris until the blood has started flowing properly. And she indeed waited. And waited and gave the bris milah when it was safe. And the baby survived. And once again, this child was named Nasan HaBavli after this rabbi who saved his life. And then they both ended up in the same class, and it was confusing. Okay, we will stop there. Be well.